तो यहाँ नहीं, अनिल सर का है।
It's live,
ये- Hey, go to YouTube, no? Live stream. Your voice is coming, but it's pretty low. It's like you're saying from a distance. No, when you were there. No, the difference one is not there. Okay, listen now. Should I log out from here? Leave meeting. Huh? Leave meeting. No, got it, bro. Got it, but actually go to YouTube. That's what I'm saying. So I will leave it and leave.
On YouTube it's streaming, but like we just have to. Hello, please settle down. Don't feel. Hello, please settle down. Don't feel. Somewhere here. This is the one. Go. Hello, please settle down. Tell somebody to connect to this. Maybe we can like put spotlight. I need to wait. I've admitted you now. Okay.
Yeah.
And I accept where I'm at. And I accept the challenges and I'm battling with today. I want even more to make the most of this wonderful gift of life.
So are we already live on YouTube? Are we live? Okay. Well, thank you everybody from cyberspace for joining this unique event today. Welcome to this time and space. And it's a very special moment for us in Soil because we are very privileged to host my dear friend Niren. So let's give Niren a very big hand. I first met Niren when he was the head of YAM in India. And he came to see me and saying, I'm looking for a coach for myself. And I'm not sure whether I can find the person I'm looking for. Because he said then, and I want you to know that if after meeting you, we don't decide to work together, it's not because I have anything against you, but it's more I myself, that I'm trying to understand who I am, and it will have nothing to do with you. So I want to say that to you before we begin this relationship. That's how the conversation started. And then we began to work together, and he would drop into Tiaralia's club where I stay, and there's a nice community, a nice place for us to sit and have a conversation. And I began to just enjoy and the conversation, because in Niren I found a very intense person. And I found somebody who always wanted to be the best in whatever he took up. If he's a musician, he wanted to be the best. As a tennis player, you want to be the best. As a leader of his 60,000 people, he wanted to be at his best. As a friend, he wanted to be at his best. As a dad, he wanted to be at his best. As a spouse, he wanted to be at his best. So, no half measures for Niren, no second best in anything. Whatever he picked up, and if that mattered to him, he wouldn't pick up things if they didn't matter to him. But if he picks up something, he would then get intensely involved. I would say even consumed by what he took up. So in this world today of distraction, what we call the distraction economy, and what I just loved about Niren is that during the time when he was leading Panera during the pandemic, and that industry was the most impacted by the pandemic, but the dignity and grace with which he took up the leadership challenge, which also then invited the President of the United States, Donald Trump, to invite him to the White House to say, be part of the group that can show the way to businesses in the US on what could be done differently. So, we're very proud of Niren, not just because I know him personally, but as an Indian, he brought dignity to the CEO's office in the US. And he's doing some amazing and exceptional things in life. And so thank you, Niren, for who you are and what you do every day. Thank you. And over to you. So the student wants to say something. She had a formal introduction.
Great leaders do not desire to lead, but to serve. A pleasant and a grateful evening, everyone. Today we have privilege of living in the presence of true visionary and leader in the field of management. Our guest speaker has dedicated his career to marketing and management studies. Mr. Niren Chaudhary, the president of Panera Brands in the United States. Under his leadership, the company has revolutionized the way we approach sustainable development, pushing boundaries and inspiring changes. With over 2 decades of experience with Yum Brands based in Louisville, Kentucky, where he was the president of Global KH and before that, he was the president of Young India. He was contributed as an educator at University of Delhi, but it's not just his professional achievement that makes him special. He is passionate for educating the next generation and marketing and leadership with engaging speaking style and ability to connect with the audience background, make him an inspiration to many. We are glad to have you, sir. Please enlighten us with your words.
So good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be here. I want to ask if these monitors will be working with the slides. Like if not, maybe we can have everybody just focusing on the slides in the middle. Oh, okay. So it can't be put off. Don't worry. Don't look at those. Just look at this one here. So great to be here. Like Anand said, he's a dear friend of mine and an inspiration to me. He was my coach, is my coach for many years. One of the few men in the world who really I really look up to, and I think he has the ability to bring out the best in other people, and I really try to replicate that in the way in which I engage with others around the world. So just a quick background. Grew up in India. Anybody from DPS? Outstanding school. Anybody from, then I went to St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. Then I did my Delhi University. Look at that. Delhi University. Come on, let's see your hands up. Awesome. That's great. And then I did my MBA, like you guys are doing. This is a master's, right? MBA. I did that from FMS. Then I joined the hotels. Anybody work in hotels? Taj Hotels. That's where I worked. And then I worked with Yum Brands. Do you all know Yum Brands? How many of you like KFC? How many? Keep your hands up. How many of you like Pizza Hut? Fewer hands than KFC. And how many of you like Taco Bell? Okay, all right, look at that. So yeah, great brands. And I had the privilege of working in that company for 25 years. My last job, I was the president of KFC. But before that, ran those brands in India and also in Europe. Then I worked at Krispy Kreme. Anybody here knows Krispy Kreme donuts? Yes. How many like Krispy Kreme? Not those many. And then I now work for a brand, which is Sanchez chain and Caribou and Sunday. So it's a real privilege to be here. And I want to talk to you this afternoon about leadership and resilience. So my talk to you will be in two parts. I'll talk about what is leadership, and then why is the resilience important. So if I was to ask you what is leadership, what would you say? I'll just take one response from this side and then one response from here. What is leadership? And I see your hand up. Yes.
Leadership is a quality that a person possesses to inspire others and to follow a path.
Okay, somebody here. You put your hand. That's you. That's you. I just saw your hand up.
Who's don't believe on I myself. It's about us.
Oh, it's not about I, but about us and we. Okay. So thank you. So, I believe that leadership is indeed a privilege. It's a real honor to be a leader. And you can be a leader of an enterprise, be a leader of your peer group, be a leader of your educational institution. You can be a leader at home. You don't have to be running a company to be a leader. Leadership is a privilege that all of us have. And then I believe the responsibility of a leader is to be a force multiplier for good. Let me explain. I believe that leadership is not only about creating enterprise value or making money, but leadership is about doing the right big things the right way. By that I mean unlocking the dreams of the people around you, serving the community in which you live, and also protecting the planet. If you do all of that, you will then create sustainable enterprise value. So if that is what leadership is about, the question is, how do you really do that? What is the single most important thing that a leader needs to do? And I believe that leadership can be unlocked only by a leader being able to build trust. If you build trust, you can do anything. So as a leader, if you're able to build trust, you can achieve the impossible. And then the question is, if trust is so important, then what truly builds trust? I would say that trust is built through consistency of behavior. If you think about it, we end up trusting those who are consistent in the way in which they show up, consistent in their behaviors, right? It's impossible to trust somebody who shows up in different ways every single day. It just doesn't work. You will trust those who are predictable, whose behaviors are predictable. Therefore, as a leader who wants to inspire trust, your aspiration needs to be, how do I become a leader whose behavior is consistent and predictable? To understand that, let's have a look at this metaphor of a tree. The leaves that you see, that everybody can see, are the manifestations of your behavior. So the leaves are your behavior. But what creates your behavior is the trunk of that tree, your thoughts. Your thoughts create behavior. What creates thoughts? And you look at the roots underneath that nobody can see. The roots of that tree are your values and your beliefs. So your values and beliefs define your thoughts. Your thoughts shape your behavior creates habit, your habit forms character, and your character unlocks destiny. If you wish to achieve your dreams, you need to understand this connection, that for you to unlock your destiny, you need to have a character that inspires trust. And to have that, you need to have consistency of behavior, which comes through consistent thinking. And to have consistent thinking, you need to have clarity of your values and your beliefs. Really, really important. If there's one thing that you take away this evening, is the importance of your beliefs and values. So the question is, where do these beliefs and values come from? Where do they come from? Huh? Upbringing, family, what else? Experience, society, environment, education, somebody at the back. Life experiences, excellent. So, our values and beliefs that are so important come from our parents, our teachers, our upbringing, like you said, the school that we go to, the school that you're at, your teachers, what you read, the company that you keep, the friends that you have. Like they say, choose your friends carefully. The life experiences that you go through shape who you are, what your values are. So we get that. So now, let me ask you, values and beliefs are so important in being able to define clarity, which you need to have consistency of thinking and then behavior and habits and character. How many of you in this room have clarity of your top 4 values? Where you say, if I ask you, what are your top 4 values? You're able to articulate that very, very clearly, very, very succinct. A show of hands, please. How many of you have clarity of what's important to you? Values and beliefs. Now, either you don't, you have. Tell me your values. Being honest, that's a great start. Any others? Yes?
Being respectful.
Being respectful. One more. Being loyal.
Kindness.
Kindness.
Being grateful.
Being grateful, fantastic. One at the back. Discipline, right at the back there. Empathy. Yes. Accepting. Fantastic. So I think you clearly have a good sense of what's important to you. If you don't have that clarity right now, don't worry about it, because you obviously do have values, because you do think and you do behave. Maybe you haven't taken the time to really articulate that or make it very visible. So one very important thing that you do on your road to becoming an effective leader is to go back and really think about what is truly important to me. What are the 4 things that are really important to me? And by the way, you're not born with values that never change. You can always let go of those values that don't serve you anymore and embrace new values that are more empowering, that can essentially unlock your true potential. So let me share with you my 4 values. My first value is courage. Courage is focusing on that which you can control, not what's happening to you. That's my definition of courage. Gratitude, many of you said gratitude. I believe that one must spend time being grateful for what we have and not thinking about what we've lost. Third is congruence. I really believe that one of my core values is what I think, feel, say, and do must be always congruent at all times. I want to have only one face for the world, in front of you and behind your back. I'm the same person. What I think, feel, say, and do will always be the same. And finally, a very important value is one of resilience, which is that every time I get knocked down, I will get up. I can't help being knocked down. Life will knock us down, but I can certainly help getting up and being the best version of who I can be. So I will get up every single time that I'm knocked down. So these are my values. So ask yourself, do you have that clarity of your values? If not, do make that effort, because as you saw, the most powerful way to unlock your destiny and success as a leader, to have clarity of your values, so that every single day, every single night, before you go to bed, before you fall asleep, you ask yourself, how was today? Did I live by my values? And there will be days when you do not. We're all human. But the important thing is that you ask yourself that question, and then you hold yourself accountable, determined to wake up as a better human the next morning. That's the power of having clarity of values. So let me share with you, my biggest influence in what has shaped my values has been my daughter, Aisha. So anybody out here familiar with Aisha's story? Aisha Chaudhary? Some of you are. The sky is pink. Right, so Aisha passed away in 2015 when she was only 18 years old. But this is not, her story is not one about sadness, about a young life that went away prematurely. It is about a celebration of a young girl that lived life so well despite all odds. She has achieved more in her lifetime than many of us will do. Well, all of you are much younger, so you certainly have a good chance of being able to achieve a lot more, being inspired by her. So think about it. She is an inspirational speaker on TED. So if you research her on YouTube, you'll get a lot of her talks that are truly inspiring. She's written a book called My Little Epiphanies. Anybody who's read that book or ordered it, I would strongly recommend go to Amazon and buy it. It's a fantastic read on reflections on life. There's a Bollywood movie inspired by her called The Sky is Pink. Anybody seen that movie? Oh, quite a few. So yes, so you've seen that movie, you've seen the power of an inspiring story of Aisha. And finally, there's a documentary inspired by Aisha called Black Sunshine Baby. Anybody seen that? So Black Sunshine Baby, if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. Do have a look. So the question is, how was somebody so young able to achieve so much? And Aisha's story is a story of courage. It's a story of gratitude. It's a story of the importance of giving that I want to share. Courage, gratitude, and giving. And that has shaped those values that I have embraced. And it has impacted who I am as a human, as a leader, as I am the way which I show in my personal life and indeed my professional. So this self-portrait of Aisha, you can't read the words on her face, but she writes, and listen to this carefully. We are here to laugh at you and live life so well that death will tremble to take us. And tremble a bit because I shall live life so well because of belief in courage, in gratitude, and the importance of giving. On courage, I shall write in her book, My Little Dreams. Pick the highest mountain and the dullest of these shine. Meaning that whenever times are tough, that's when you need to pick a new mountain, a new challenge, and then do your very best to get to the top of the mountain. And fulfillment lies not in reaching the top of the mountain, but in your endeavor to reach the top of your mountain, to be the very best version of who you can be by focusing on what you have control over, not on what's happening to you. That's what Aisha wrote and believed in the context of courage. Let me share a story with you. So Aisha is 13 years old, we're living in Delhi. The doctors have just broken the heartbreaking news that Aisha has only 5 years to live, that she has the dreaded pulmonary fibrosis, which is the hardening of the lung, and in 5 years, she will be dead. I, of course, share that news with Aisha, but do tell her that, Aisha, don't worry, darling. Your dad will look for a cure if it is available anywhere in the world. I made her that promise. She didn't quite understand how serious this illness was. Ted called me up and they said, we want you to come and give a leadership talk. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not in the right emotional state. I've just heard this heartbreaking news about my daughter. I don't think I can do it. They said, well, maybe Aisha. I said, Aisha? She barely can speak to 5 people. She's so shy, she's so small. I said, no, why don't you go and ask her? So I went to Aisha and said, Aisha, would you like to speak on TED? She said, what the hell is that? I said, TED is, like a platform where you stand up and you speak to like 300 people. She says, Dad, are you crazy? I can barely speak to 5 people. I can't speak to, why would I want to speak to 300 people? I said, okay. I thought, this is pretty much a done deal. I was about to walk out of the room and she said, and Dad? I said, yes. She says, is TED the same thing that Bhaiya thinks is very, very cool? I said, yes. I knew where that was going because, as you know, brothers and sisters have this thing, if Bhaiya thinks it's very cool, then I have to do it. So she said, okay, I will do this talk. You know what, Dad? I don't think I can. That was not part of my speech. And Aisha said, I don't think I can, and therefore I must. Thank you. I don't think I can, therefore I must. So I think we'll wait for this divine intervention to end. And then we will come. Perfect. I don't think I can, and therefore I must. And then off she went. No, I don't know what's going on here. And off she went. And then she practiced, and she practiced, and she practiced. And then I'm going to show you a little clip of her first speech. Remember that she's 13 years old, never ever stepped on stage, never spoken to more than 10 people, not even 5 people. And here she is in her maiden speech, hitting it out of the park. Just listen. Maybe if you can just dull the lights. Dim the lights.
So as we now know, there's always something in life to sing about, something to be grateful for. I'm grateful for my loving family, my friends, my dogs. In fact, I'm even grateful for the challenges that life has thrown at me, for which I've experienced life with a much greater intensity than I would have otherwise. And I do believe that my soul would have no rainbow if my eyes and no tears. Thank you for listening.
Well, the deal here is that Aisha's in the room, so you have to applaud if you like. My school would have the rainbow. My eyes had no tears. Incredible. So Aisha is like 13 years old, and the whole room erupts much like this, except they're on their feet and they're giving her a standing ovation. And Aisha doesn't know what a standing ovation is. So she's running off stage. And I'm running after her, saying, Aisha, where are you going? She says, well, they're so bored, they want to get up and leave. I said, no, this is a standing ovation. You know, they're saying, well done. I said, okay. So she understood what that was and was grateful for it. But think about that. I don't think I can, and therefore I must. And now the disease is a very cruel disease. And very soon she was no longer able to walk, no longer able to stand. She was in a wheelchair and not able to attend full-time school. So she said to my wife, Aditi, she said, Mom, I love school, but I don't have the energy anymore for full-time school. I don't want to give it up. So I want to definitely do maths. She was a bit of a nerd. I will do maths, but I want to also paint. She said, why paint? She says, you know, because there's something, anybody out here who paints? Yeah, there's something incredible about, so healing about having a white canvas, and you dip your paintbrush into this paint, and then you express yourself on this canvas. It's so healing. I think I want to learn how to paint. So away she went, not focused that my legs don't work, but focused that my hands do. And because my hands work, I may not be able to walk, but I can still paint. So she started painting. I'm going to show you a collection of her paintings. Remember that she started painting from not knowing how to paint. All of this within the span of just 1 year. So have a look, please tell the rest.
First thing first, I'm real. When I drop it, let that whole world feel it. And I'm feeling emerging, going in. But even as a 55, I just want to be things like this. And I'm love to get up just like this. Just want to be things like this. And I'm love to get up just like this. Just want to be things like this. And I'm love to get up just like this. I'm love to get up just like this. I'm love to get up just like this. Just want to be things like this.
So, did you see a common theme in her paintings? Did you see something? Dogs, right? How did you like dogs? Me too. Love dogs. And she loved her pug, she loved her lab, you know, and she painted them. And she also deeply loved her mother. This is her mom. This is her mom. And all right. And her name is Aditi. She's even more beautiful in real life. I wanted to say that because I think she may be watching live. Maybe. But I went to Aisha and I said, Aisha, you paint everybody. You paint your dogs. You paint beagles on iTunes. You paint the lab. You paint Mom. What about your dad? And she said, Dad, don't you know I only paint beautiful people? The fact that you're laughing means that you perhaps agree with her sentiment, but she always knew how to put me in my place, and we had this absolutely adorable relationship. And now the disease progressed. She was in a wheelchair. She couldn't walk. She couldn't even breathe. And now she had a full-time oxygen mask on her face that she needed to breathe. And Ted called again and said, Aisha, would you like to come back and speak on TED? And she said, are they crazy? Just look at me. I'm on full-time oxygen. I said, I totally understand, Aisha. No worries. I will tell them you're not ready to do this. She said, wait. I said, oh, there she goes again. A new mountain to climb on and the dullest of the days to shine on. I said, yes. She says, I will do it on one condition, Dad. I said, what? I will speak without my oxygen mask. I said, Aisha, you can't do that. You can't do that. And just to share with you how she may have felt, if I ask you, take a deep breath and then hold it. Take a deep breath. Hold it. And now try and speak. Very difficult, right? So she was like that. She couldn't breathe, but she said, I have to speak because I don't want people to have sympathy when they see me. I don't want people to look at me and say, look at that poor little girl in a wheelchair. Look at that poor girl. She needs oxygen to breathe. I want them to see the real me, who I am. I want them to see the true Aisha. I said, okay. And then away she went. She trained, oxygen mask, away for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And she strengthened her muscles to actually work when being deprived of oxygen. And she was ready to give the speech. I will show you a clip of her next speech. You will notice that she is not standing anymore. She doesn't have the energy to stand. She's sitting down. Her nostrils are flaring. She can't breathe, refuses to take the oxygen. She's running out of breath. But her spirit is strong because she's focused on what she has control over, not what's happening to her. So the lights, please.
So happiness is an attitude. Happiness is doing what you truly love. And I feel that happiness can only come from acceptance. I accept who I am, and I accept where I'm at, and I accept the challenges that I'm battling with today. And I'm even more determined to make the most of this wonderful gift of life that God has given me. As Anderson once said, enjoy life. There's plenty of time to be dead.
So Anderson once said, enjoy life. There's plenty of time to be dead. Enjoy life. Then we can die forever. The time is now. We have to seize the moment and enjoy life. There's plenty of time to be dead. She got another standing ovation. She obviously knew what that meant. But she was glad to have connected and inspired so many across the world. And then the disease progressed, and now she could no longer sit, she could no longer breathe, she could no longer paint, she could no longer walk. She was lying down in bed. And we knew that the end was near. But her spirit was strong. Her mind was phenomenally bright. So she said to her mom, Mom, what am I supposed to do? I'm just lying here. All my friends are away, busy in their own lives, going to college and everything. I watched all the Friends with You. I watched Breaking Bad. I watched all these damn serials. What am I supposed to do now? So my wife said, why don't you read this book by Hugh Prather called Notes to Myself? Anybody read that book? You have. Aisha would say, don't bother reading it. Read mine. That's what she would say. So she said, how come this book sold 1 million copies? I don't see what's the big deal with this book. I can write better than this book. She's saying as she's lying in bed, immobilized through her because of her disease. Spirit is strong. Pick a new mountain to climb on. My mind is still active. My fingers still work. I can't move my hands. I can't breathe. I can't walk, but I can think. She said, I can actually write a better book, she said. I said, what do you mean? She said, I have all these crazy thoughts because I'm just lying in bed all day. I'm going to write a book. I said, there she goes again, focusing on what she has control over. And before I knew it, she'd written this book called My Little Epiphanies, which has her musings on life. reflections on what life meant to this incredible child. So let me share with you an interview that she did a few days before she passed away about the importance of this book to her. Lights, please.
And what is the message you want to tell the world?
I think basically everyone's just fighting their own battles together, and we're all on a roller coaster ride. And mine's been going particularly down this year, and I felt so like stuck. And so writing this book has really uplifted me, and so I wanted like my readers to find peace on whatever roller coaster ride they may be on. So I hope that's what I'm doing.
Thank you, Aisha.
Thank you.
So Aisha's story is a story of courage, of gratitude, and the power of giving. And you just heard about courage, which is focus on what you have control over, not on what's happening to you. And there's always, always something that you can do to make a difference. Aisha then talks about gratitude. And she writes in her book these words. Remember, she's now lying in bed. She knows she has limited time. Her body is wasted, but her mind is alive, her spirit is alive. And in her heart, there is nothing but gratitude. And she writes, I'm blessed to have my ears so I can hear the sound of my mother's laughter. I'm blessed to have my lips so I can speak to those I love. I'm blessed to have my hands so I can paint whenever I please. I'm blessed to have my legs so I can still walk. On this earth, I must remember that I am blessed. I think the power of gratitude is magical. I don't know how many of you have a habit of writing a gratitude journal, or just before you sleep, or the first thing in the morning when you wake up. You just build this habit of, I know I'm always preoccupied with what's going wrong. Let me now think about what's going right. Let me just spend a few minutes just being grateful for all the gifts that I have in this incredible life that has been given to me. So what I'd like you to do is just indulge me, take a deep breath and close your eyes. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and just remind yourself to be grateful, to have gratitude in your heart for all the people that you love. Your family, your friends, people around you that you love and you cherish. Hold them in your heart. And make a resolution that you will go home and hug them just a little bit tighter. And you will tell them how much you love them. And you will never tire of telling them how much you love them and what they mean to you. Thank you. You can open your eyes. You know, it is through the lens of gratitude that I feel that you will discover everyday miracles around you. Through the lens of gratitude. The more you're grateful for, the more good things will be attracted to you. It's this lens of gratitude that opens up magic in your life around you. So really, really important. And then as we move towards the importance of giving, you know, as a father, as I was struggling, where do I go from here? What is the meaning of all this? I read this in Aisha's book, which she says, if you can't change your own life, there's always someone else's. And how true healing truly lies in giving. And any one of you out here, I'm sure, who are dealing with many difficulties in your life, I'm sure you've lost people that you love. You've had difficulties. I can tell you this,
one powerful way to heal is to help those around you, to serve those around you. You know, as human beings, that's how we are wired. That's how our hearts are wired. The more we give, the more we heal. And therefore, anybody who's struggling with loss, this is the key, that you'll find healing by being able to serve others. So Aisha's incredible journey was about courage, about gratitude, about the importance of giving. And then I want to talk to you now about resilience. I talked about leadership. And to recap, leadership is about, it's a privilege. It's about establishing trust. Trust is a function of consistent behaviors. Behaviors come from clarity of values. Values come from our experiences. And I shared with you my own experience of the loss of my daughter and how that has shaped who I am and who I wish to be. And now I think the important thing is resilience. I shared with you resilience is such an important attribute for leaders, that you have the ability and the tenacity and the willingness and the determination to get up every single time you fall down. Fall down you will. Each one of you will fall down. You will have your difficulties, you will have your challenges. Nobody can help that, but what you can help is getting up and fighting the good fight and being the very best version of who you can be every single day. So let me share with you where I found the healing and the courage to move forward. Two things. One, it sounds quite obvious, but I had this epiphany. I was like absolutely crushed by the loss of my two daughters. And I did not quite see a very clear way forward. And I don't know if some of you have experienced this, but when you reach the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the barrel, you get fed up of being at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the barrel. And you say, I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired, you know? And I said, to hell with this. We are all going to die, each one of us. We're all mortals. That's the eternal truth. We are all going to die, and therefore I'm going to have a ball. I'm going to really live life really, really well, you know? Because unless I can learn to love myself and heal myself, I can't be of service to anybody else. I have to first forgive myself for having failed my daughters. I have to learn to love myself for having failed as a father. So I said, okay, I got to love myself and have a ball. And what does that mean? I'll share that with you. And secondly, I said, you know, how do we convert this pain that we feel of our disappointments, of our loss, of our failures, into meaning and purpose for others through the organizations that we lead? So those are the two things I've done, and I'll very quickly walk you through what that meant. So loving myself, don't laugh at this, but on my mini bucket list, the first thing was that I want to go to Harvard. Anybody out here who's dreamt of going to Harvard? Oh, interesting. There are very few people. So back then, when I was your age, we all wanted to run to Harvard. Now, of course, you have many possibilities. So one of my dreams was to go to Harvard and experience education there, so I went there. Second dream that I had was, any musicians in the room? Okay, a few here. So I'm a musician, and I write songs. And I said, okay, I wanted to always record my own songs and then release them on Spotify and iTunes. And even if nobody listens to them, at least I'll know that they're out there. And then when I give talks like this, I'm hoping that I'll get many more hits. You'll be curious. Okay, let me look at this guy. Does he really write anything that is of significance? So I hired a sound studio and got some friends, and I released about 8-10 tracks. So far, my wife is the only one who listens to that. And then the third thing was, I've always dreamt of teaching at Ivy League schools, the best schools in the US. So I've gone and taught at Kellogg, at Harvard, at Columbia, London Business School, etc. So when I took a sabbatical and did all this, I started feeling better. I said, because I'm taking the time to do what I want,
Not tomorrow, not when I retire, not when I'm old, not when I'm rich. But right now, what can I do today? What can I do tomorrow? How can I fulfill my dreams? Because I must show myself that I am the most important person for myself, that I love me before I can love anybody else. So that healed me, and that gave me more energy and a sense of hope and optimism for the future. And then finally, I shared with you how leadership is a privilege as we lead companies. And I have decided to leverage my pain and convert that into purpose for the organizations in which I belong. So at Panera, for example, our mission is to make the world healthier and happier. Healthier because of our impact agenda on diversity, on inclusion, on community, on planet, to make the world much better than we found it, and happier by serving incredible food that's also good food across the world, and carry that spirit across the world. I have this feeling, and I want you as future leaders to take two things back with you as you define your own ambition around leadership. The first is we have very little control in our country, in the world, and all the stuff that is happening. There's very little that we can do. But we have complete control, or you will have complete control over the organizations that we steward, right? Why can't we make the organizations that we steward a shining example of the world that we wish to see? And if all leaders do that, I think the world that we wish to see will automatically manifest. The world that I want to see is diverse, is inclusive, is tolerant, is loving, is accepting of all kinds of differences. The world that I want to see has respect for community, a sense of service for the community, and a great desire to protect this planet. You know, I read a fantastic African proverb that says that we don't inherit the planet from our parents, we borrow it from our children. And I think we all have a moral responsibility to leave the world much better than we found it. And then finally, in closing, another quote from Aisha's book, where Aisha says, we have one life. Well, I know that we believe in rebirth, but at least at any given time, it's only the one life that we remember, right? So we have one life, let's make it gigantic. Let's not live ordinary lives. Let's make our life extraordinary. It's such a gift. But even as we aim for the moon to make this life incredible, there will be darkness along the way. There will be difficulties. But that's when we must remember to pause and catch the glittering stars, all the gifts, all the things that are going right along the way as we walk to the future that we wish to create. Thank you very much.
Very happy to share that Niren has got his guitar, so how can there be a session that
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate that. And I think we'll have a bit of a sing song, and then happy to take any questions that you might have. So I think I will need 2 mics and a volunteer. Of course, I'll put it. I've been doing it for a few years. So can we have a round of applause for Arshia? He's a roadie on the band. Well, we'll just make do with this kind of sound. I think you'll get an idea. But here's a story. I met my wife when she was 14, I was 16 in school. Whoa. It was love at first sight. And for me, so I had to learn to play the guitar and to impress her. So I wrote many songs, and then we got married. And so I stopped writing songs. And then now I am in love with the mirror, and I write songs about our food. See, that's how things change as been married for 35 years. So I'm going to sing some Panera songs, which you'll enjoy because they're original and they're pretty corny. So the first one's on a fantastic product called flatbread pizza. Let's hear it. Come on. Bubble zero dough ingredients that are fresh. Messy abundance crafted by a chef. Chicken cheese margarita. Whenever's God for you. Flatbread pizza. Flatbread pizza. Flatbread pizza. Flatbread pizza. Flatbread pizza. Flatbread pizza. I broke my string, so I think we'll have to stop it here. I'll come back again. So I thought what we can do is, thank you. We can take some questions. Yeah, we can take some questions and have a conversation.
Question from the floor, question from the audience. Go ahead. Any question you are moved to ask?
Yeah.
My name is Chaudhary, sir. Sir, I don't have any questions as such. I just want to thank you because normally I'm a backbencher, and it's the rule of a backbench to rebel against everything, right? If it's in rules, you rebel against it. But for me, it was an eye-opener to about gratitude, about feeling things, about when it's in the morning, sir had a session with us about gratitude, about realizing small things, appreciating small things we don't. Sir, I just want to thank you, and I can't do it in words because it's abstract about the session you just had. And thank you so much, sir.
Sir, if you want to describe Aisha in one word, how will you describe her?
Ethereal.
So how do you manage to stay positive all the time? So it's pretty hard to stay positive and look the better side of the world. How do you do this?
So the question is, how do you stay positive all the time? Despite what's happening to you, right? So the truth is, it's very difficult to be positive all the time. It's virtually impossible. You have to feel the pain, go through the pain, keep searching, keep reminding yourself, keep talking to yourself, and all the stuff that we talked about. Okay, this has happened, I don't like it, but what can I do? What do I have control over? What could I be grateful for? Who can I help? How can I make sure this doesn't happen to somebody else? And I think it's that kind of conversation when you have that with yourself, it slowly starts to heal you because you're dedicated to be of service, to help others, and to constantly focus on what you can influence. And that just empowers you and gives you energy to keep moving forward. So that's what I would say. I think it's the conversations that you have, and that's why your clarity of values is so important. If you have clarity of values, in tough times, the best thing you can do is go back to your values and say, okay, this is what's important to me. This is who I am. So let me ask myself these questions. What can I control? What am I grateful for? How can I stand up and fight again?
So can you please tell one of the best memory you have with Aisha?
Oh, best memories? I think I shared so many of them. I think one of the memories that comes to my mind, just triggered by the question you asked, was, I always felt insecure about Aisha's love for me as a father. I always felt she loved my wife a lot more. She loved her brother a lot more. And I was a bit like in the doghouse most of the time. So when she passed away, I went to one of her closest friends and said, tell me, did Aisha really love me? And she said, what kind of a stupid question is that? I said, no, I just want to know. And she showed me a poem that Aisha wrote with her about me. When how you kids sometimes you write one sentence to the other person and the other person writes the second sentence and the second sentence, and you collaborate on creating that poem. And that poem was her dedication to me and how she really felt about me. And I was deeply moved by that.
So, my name is Akshat, and I would like to ask that getting beautiful daughter who is super talented in every single piece of things, and we cannot describe like she's popular in every field. Like we cannot segregate each things, but and also you are in a successful journey of your life. So when you come to the point of realizing that she is no more with you, that is which is not acceptable for any father. So in every situation when we see that a daughter is directly more connected to her father, so I would like to ask how it is difficult for a father to see her daughter getting successful when she is with here, not physically, but in all our hearts.
That's a beautiful question. And, one of the reasons, thank you so much for that. You expressed that beautifully. I have to say that one of the reasons why I like to do these kind of talks is I feel that this is the only way Aisha comes back to life in your hearts. Right? You will go home, you will tell your parents, your friends, your family about her and her wonderful journey, and you will recommend the books and movie and what you heard, and that's the biggest tribute to her, is to keep her alive in our hearts.
We have different things, and we might have, as per the stage we are. So how do we constantly believe that this is the true definition of life? And how do we realize that?
You're saying that your perspectives keep changing, and then how do you know that your perspective is right? Is that what you're asking? Well, I think, the thing is, I really believe that we have to commit ourselves. If there's one thing we must commit to ourselves, is to be a lifelong learner. To have the wisdom to know that we don't know. No perspective is right. Knowledge is not right. There's no right. It's only a point of view. And I think the best thing we can do is to stay curious. To never have the arrogance of knowledge, or to think that our way is the only way. This is how we create problems around us. If we stay curious and we want others to understand us, we have to first understand them and their point of view. So I think reminding yourself that, I'm going to be a student, my perspectives will change, what I think will change. I'm going to learn, I'm going to develop, I'm going to grow, and I'll keep getting better.
Good evening, sir. I'm sure it must have been devastating for you to see the daughter suffer through such a journey. I just wanted to know, how did you cope with the fact that, why is it that your daughter is suffering through this, and how did you cope with it as a father?
Again, that's a very profound question. And we all seek answers for many things for which there are no answers, or at least nobody really knows. And yet I think we find different ways of dealing with it. So my wife, who I think is spiritually very evolved, she told me that, why do we always ask, why me? Why don't we ask, why not me? Why do we always are in that mode of, why me? Why does it happen to me? And we're always somehow looking for fairness only for ourselves. And I think if you say, well, it can happen to anybody, and therefore why not me? Okay, now give me the strength and courage to deal with what's happened. And I think that's a very sort of a profound way to think about it. I think why me is a road to nowhere. I think why not me opens the door towards healing, towards acceptance. And I think acceptance is the most powerful way to deal with loss. You cannot fight it.
So sir, this is not a question, I just wanted to share. There was a time when someone I loved very, very, very deeply was diagnosed with depression. And it was really hard for all of us to see the person you love not wanting to live anymore because hopelessness and all those things. So I'm not saying this movie was the reason they overcame it, but we all saw the sky spin together, and I think we owe it to Aisha somewhere that we were able to learn to love ourselves and love our lives. So I just wanted to share that it took someone like Aisha and her entire family to teach us that. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Aisha in her book interestingly writes about depression, and she says, being depressed just means I'm under repair. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that means the world to us. You know, that was our desire, was to share her story so it could heal many hearts. Okay, thank you. You've been fantastic.
Picture with Niren,